guys. Welcome back
Hi.
to
Hello.
101.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
I'm so excited today. I have some very special guests. I'm your host, Silver Luna, your local internet vixen. My special guests here are Kelly and Scott with Swingapedia podcast. Hi, guys.
Hi. How
Hi.
you doing?
I am super excited to hear all about your story. I do want to introduce real quick my husband, Jesus.
I know Jesus.
I know. Nice to meet you, Kelly. And I'm excited to talk to you again, Scott. I'm excited to hear all about your origin stories and the red flags. It sounds like you guys have worked really hard to identify in your own relationships and to avoid, to steer the other direction. That's really awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Okay. Well, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
We've been married for 4 years. Actually, we've been in a lifestyle for 4 years because we started right away as soon as we got together. And we have been we had a lot of experiences. We've basically learned along the way. Um, and myself, I have been involved for 14 years, and I brought my beautiful wife into the lifestyle. And there's been some growing pains. It's funny because all the experiences I had beforehand, everything's been different with her. I felt differently about her. So I dealt with issues I never dealt with anyone else before. I had a streak of jealousy that came about that I wasn't familiar with in myself. I guess because seeing her with other people was different for me in the beginning, and I had to grow to appreciate that as opposed to in the past with other people. I didn't feel the same way for some reason, and I still have a hard time explaining why it was different with her. But and for herself as well, she's had some growing pains as well too with different things that we've experienced. But we're still working on making that communication like flow properly. Like sometimes we have issues. Sometimes it's hard for me to like accept some of the things that she has to say when because I kind of take it like as if she's like coming down on me when she's just basically trying to tell me how she feels. So we're still growing as a couple, but we love each other. We make the effort to communicate, and we love the lifestyle. So we're finding ways to make it work. I
hmm
hope I didn't take your thunder. You want to add something to that,
No,
right?
you didn't take my thunder at all. But yeah, he started talking to me about the lifestyle when we first started talking, and he didn't hold anything back. He shared with me very openly that he had this life before me, and he was very adamant that he was wanting to be done with it and steer his life in a different direction. And I don't know if he was just trying to sell me that or if he really believed that. I think he had had some bad experiences and he really believed that to be true. But after he started learning about me, I think he thought, oh, wow, maybe I don't have to be done with this. Like maybe this could actually work. So then we just kind of started steering things in a different direction. And I don't know. I never really felt bothered by it. I mean, I think it's been, like a process of unfolding for me. And I just really like everything very much.
Yeah.
Everything is interesting to me and everything is palatable. So whatever he allows me to experience, he's kind of the boss of our operation. We have a very traditional structure. So whatever he allows us to have in our repertoire, I'm willing to receive it pretty openly.
Well, I'm becoming more relaxed with everything. Like I said before, I was kind of in the beginning. I was so afraid of losing her, so I was so careful with everything. And I'm starting to open up a lot more. And we're having some more experiences. We've talked about other things that we're going to do that we haven't done yet. Um, it took me a long time to make her feel comfortable with some of the things that I want to experience because she's used to the old me getting upset over different things and not, reacting certain ways. And I'm trying to tell her that, no, hun, I'm not, this is not a trap. I want you to experience this. I want you to enjoy this. I know you want to enjoy this. You're just afraid to let me know you want to enjoy it. But I want her to be open and to have these experiences, especially because I'm older and I'm not at the top of the food chain anymore. So sometimes I'm the reason why we don't have certain experiences. I know that to be true. She will tell you probably it's not true, but I know it's me that's holding us back. So I'm like, you're digging this. and they're kind of like are looking at my age. If they're open to you being a part of it, then I want you to experience that. I want you to. I don't want to be the one that's holding us back. You know, if that's something that you can do and I can just sit on the side as long as I can watch, I'm okay with it. And that's kind of where we are with. I still haven't gotten her to the point where she feels comfortable with that yet. She's still a little nervous. She thinks I'm not setting. I'm joking. I say setting up, but she's afraid I'm gonna get
No,
angry in the
I
long
get
run.
exactly what you guys are saying. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we definitely had the same kind of relationship where I'm more of well, we're okay, but like it started evolving once I started like because I had the same feelings as you. Like I feel like I keep us away from certain couples too, just because I don't work out and I don't have this amazing body that she does. You know what I mean? Like I know how I can self reflection on what I am and I'm very attractive, but that also means I'm very athletic, right? And a lot of people find athleticism attractive. So sometimes yeah, that I want to tell her like it took us a little while too for the experiences, for her to convince or to convince her like I want to see you, like you can do these things. I know, but it was hard. Obviously, work it's hard work because I also had to get there too, right? Because just because I'm saying it and I'm feeling it, once you see it, it's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah. So since you guys have experienced a bit of that work, what are some of those red flags whenever you realize that there's couples that you meet that haven't done that seeking out of the other partner and that work to be better and to communicate?
I mean, well, the first thing, the obvious thing is like when you see them arguing or they're not getting along very well. Um, I see that as a definite red flag that maybe we ought to be careful. I also think too that when you find out that a couple, well, we've had this on our own debate actually about what I'm about to mention, but I think that
I'm interested to hear what you're saying. We've had a lot of debates over time.
yeah,
That's healthy.
couples,
I mean,
yeah, it is very healthy. Couples that are like not really couples, like they're together, they come to the party, they decide they're gonna go, they're friends, and they go to a party. I think that's kind of a red flag for me, and she will disagree with that, but because I think that when you're a couple, you have something to lose. You're trying to maintain what you have. When you're not a couple, you're free. You don't care what kind of problems you may cause with someone else or their rules or what have you. I think, in my opinion, that a red flag is a couple that it's not really a couple, that they're just there together and they're just doing this because he wanted to get into the party maybe. And
A door date.
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think that's a red flag as well too. But I don't want to. What was your opinion? I mean, we've had discussions about couples, and we had a deep, long discussion about people that go to parties just as friends, and people that go to parties that are married or in a relationship. And I kind of, obviously, as you can tell, I prefer the people that are in relationships, and I'm kind of weary of those people. And Kelly was more so on the side of those people who are just doing it together because the guy wants to be a part of lifestyle, or maybe the lady wants to be a part of lifestyle, but they want to go with someone. They don't want to be there by themselves.
I understand what you're saying. Like maybe like, correct me if I'm wrong. I think what you're meaning is like more like a trust, like right? Because you had this trust with your partner, and other people had this trust with their partner. So whenever, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is that so whenever you see a couple that are just together like at a door date, you don't know how that guy it understands that that's your wife, that's your partner. You can't just romance her into sleeping with her. Like it's different. It's different. It's more of a friendship thing. That like where as a couple, I understand that I'm not there to romance your wife or to make anything else. And we're there to enhance the experience
Exactly.
of
It's like a
sex.
security. It's a
Yeah, it's a
security
security.
blanket. Nobody's taking them home in the
Yeah,
end.
Exactly. Perfectly put. Perfectly put. So yeah, that's kind of like what we were having the debate on. But I see that as a red flag. And I'm not so excited about having experience with those people.
Mm-hmm.
But what about your red flags, hon?
I'm big on people's energy, and I am attracted to a wide variety of people, and not always is my attraction based on aesthetics. A lot of times I can't even understand it myself.
I don't.
I just have a
Yeah.
I have a particular way about me that I find different types of people attractive, even like androgynous type people. Um, Historically, I'm pan, so I guess I would base my red flags mainly off of what I feel people's energy to be, and um, negative intentions, or another red flag would be, for me in particular, I only know the lifestyle through Scott. I don't want to say trained me because that sounds negative, but he introduced me, and he's very much a gentleman, and he's very respectful, kind of old school. The men initiate contact with the men. He's not one to go embarrass me and start acting like a big Mac daddy on other women. He's just always respectful and makes sure that I don't feel some kind of way about things. And I guess it's a red flag to me. Kind of takes my breath away from me, like somebody socked me in the gut when there's maybe like a guy who's acting like a shark, who just kind of bypasses the traditional respect rules, and they kind of bypass him and they come right at me. That happens a lot. Or
Yes.
a couple will come at me and they'll try to weed him out.
That's happened so many times.
That happens. That happens.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we have I feel like unicorn hunters are they have that title for a reason.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them, and they'll completely ignore Jesus a lot of the time, and we're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and I don't even pick up on it as much as he does, because I think he's so
Same.
tuned into it.
Because they're being smooth. You're like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, well,
actually that's nice, thanks.
I mean, and sometimes it's obvious. Like when we were in Wilmington, and that couple, like, it was weird, right? Because they come into the room, we're in the playroom, and they're asking if what was it, him or was it her? I think it was him at first, asking if he could basically talk to you and stuff like that. And then she was there, and they're both doing it. And then when I try to get involved, they're like, "Oh no, we don't play with guys. We just play with girls." And I'm like, "Oh really?"
Yeah, they didn't
play with us.
exclude him until it was like right in the moment,
In
and
the
it was
moment,
like,
they excluded me in the moment. And I was like, "Oh, okay. If I knew that, I would not have spent as much time allowing you guys to get familiar with my wife, and you like pushing me away."
yeah, and it
Yeah,
was just awkward, because he was not happy at all, and it was really obvious to me. They probably didn't pick up on it like I did, but he was turned off right away, and just like lukewarm to cool. And I was just like stuck navigating the situation, like, well, what the hell do I do with this now? Like this
should have
is
said
right
that was
in
a red
this is
flag.
right in my lap, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a red flag. I sort of missed the signs there. I kind of like I would have shut that down right away. I could have shut it down anyway because I wasn't really attracted to her anyway. But we were there and they were showing some interest in her, so I'm like, okay. It's
I
just
mean,
like,
it's a vibe
Well,
sometimes, just like she was saying. Sometimes it's a vibe, like you're vibing with the people. You're like, you know what, this feels right, even though not everybody's like there. I'm attracted to the energy here. Oh yeah,
I get that because like normally I'm very big on communication and let's have the direct conversation. Do we want to do this? Let me make sure that you've been tested recently. But on occasion, there's those people that you meet that it's like such a vibe, and then you get into it, and then something like that happens, and you're like, oh, did that just happen? Okay, well, okay, let's go home.
Mhm. Another red flag that we've encountered too is we had dabbled with exploring a poly situation, and I wasn't ready. In retrospect, I really wasn't ready for the whole experience yet, but I wanted to be on board with it. And is a red flag for me when they had started expressing interest in developing their own personal relationship, and I wasn't prepared for that. That was a red flag for me. Like,
I think the red flag for you started way before that. Can I tell
yeah,
you
I
something?
don't care. I don't care.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you when she got the red flag. Okay, I'm trying to figure out if I will really go all into this. All right, so it was our first experience, right? Right when we first were intimate with her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and let me just cut to the chase. My wife was able to observe that there was a connection between me and her, and I think that she was really uncomfortable with that connection that we had. And even though I tried hard not to make it as obvious as I guess it was, because she pointed it out right away, there was some sort of connection between the two of us. And it was obvious that I was feeling the vibe, she was feeling the vibe, and my wife was noticing that there was a vibe. So that's where the red flag for her started. Am I correct in making that assumption?
Yeah, probably. And then,
Because that's when everything changed after that. We went from, hey, we're going to be a throuple to, oh, no, this is not happening. So she kind of like reversed and went in the other direction. I think
yeah,
that's where it started. And then everything else afterwards was compounding on top of that. When we're talking about communicating with each other and establishing like our own communication, and you saw what happened there, and then you didn't like the whole conversation. Everything else compounded on top of that. That's a fair assessment, correct?
mm-hmm.
If you want to
Yeah.
add more to it, you can, but because I'm basically summarizing what I've never summarized before, I'm summarizing now live was we're
It's
doing this.
I
I
love
love it.
this. Emotional maturity is one of those things that we look for, and potential play partners and people that go through this and analyze the situations that they've been through and understand why they got there. You're pointing out right now all of the red flags, which is what everybody does the first time they go through a situation in every lifestyle scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in summary, when I realized that they were both interested in having their own relationship in addition, I thought it was just going to be like a recreational add on, kind of an extension of what we were already doing. And then I realized that it was deeper than that. And I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't signed up for that at all. I was not on board with that. So I had to just kind of, be honest. And it was humbling because I felt like an asshole, but I had to be honest and just let him know, hey, I wasn't ready for this. I didn't realize you guys. I know that's naive. I wasn't ready. I didn't anticipate that they were going to want to have their own relationship, which would make sense. It's obvious, but at the time, I just was looking at it like from a recreational standpoint, like this is our friend and we're all friends. And, of course, I wasn't ready at that time, nor am I ready now to allow that type of a relationship in addition to what we have.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it was I think it was misunderstanding. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was interpreting when we said poly relationship. I was interpreting it as us all having a relationship where we were all together as a couple. I would have I would have the option to communicate with her one on one. You'd have the option to communicate with her one on one, and we'd have an option to communicate together as a unit. That's how I was looking at it. And I guess you were just looking at it as someone. I think you were looking at it more as a unicorn. When we get together with her, we have intimacy. She goes her way, and we continue on our
And
way.
she was our mutual friend, so I felt like she was really respectful. Like I didn't anticipate there was going to be any problems. Like we're cool, they're cool, just
Yeah.
as long as we're more cool than they're cool.
No, completely. No, that comes down to that communication that you guys were talking about. I mean, we learn over time, like what communication means. Because I mean, sometimes I have still had those moments. I mean, not sometimes it happens all the time too. I still have those moments like, like they meant that and I meant this completely. Even though we think we had this communication thing locked down to that point that we thought we were in each other's head, you need more. It turns out that you need more. You have to go deeper. Like, okay, so if we go into that, what happens here and what happens there, and that's when I think because we also keep almost fall into a trap too, where she started communicating with like we were first bull or first person that we thought was going to be a bull for her that she can actually do. I thought it was more sexual, but we never had this experience before, so she took it more personal. The conversations were more personal than I thought they would be, instead of just being sexual.
Yeah, that's when I had to learn what dynamics were between poly versus swinger, because I realized I was accidentally crossing a boundary. But that's also something that I think I've learned throughout the course of my lifestyle experience, is that at the beginning, when you're naive, you assume boundaries to become like rude, or you assume boundaries to be something that is like somebody not wanting to do something with you. But then as you get more experienced into it, you realize that boundaries are actually not the red flag. It's the red flag not to have those boundaries.
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
Very true.
We're still working on that in real time. Like when things are right in front of us, we are still not the best communicators, although we'll pontificate all day long about the importance of communicating when it's right there in front of us. We still struggle with that. We don't have the best, like baseball, we don't have like the best signals. Like other couples have good signals. We don't. And
Oh,
we
you think we all do it? We all do too. Like, believe me, like we all also learning. Especially, I mean, we also like about 3 years in. And as soon as we got married, we jump into it as well. Like it was like we got married next month. We were swinging.
Yeah, it's true. So in the lifestyle, what are some of the biggest red flags that you guys will overlook to be with a partner? You're super into them, very vibey, but you're
I don't know
overlooking.
about that one. That's a good question.
Well, I can tell you one that just popped in my mind. We had this interaction with a couple at a hotel takeover party, and Friction was the club. Anyhow, so we had paired up, he and I, and he and her, and right from the point of flirtation, the guy was pulling out his penis. He had, just like every time we were like throughout the night, kept pulling out his penis, and I think trying to impress me with, what God had given him. And I was, just kind of overlooking it like, oh, he's, not shy to, be a little bit, of a bragger about what he's got going on. And, rightly so, he had good bragging rights. And so, but then later, as the night progressed and things started, pairing up at the end of the night, I realized he had no intention of wrapping it up. Like when we all started getting busy, he had even said, I'm actually not able to wrap it up, because if I do, I'm not able to maintain an erection. And and he didn't say it like that, I'm
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but I was like, what in the hell were you thinking? Like I did not equate the fact that he's whipping it out all night long, and then later on he's planning on whipping it out with nothing else, and I'm like, what would make you think I'm okay with this? Like, just because you're married and we're married doesn't mean like I trust you.
That's true, especially as long as I hope he's cleaning himself in between.
And all I could think of is, if you're doing this with me, if you're trying to be doing this with me, you're doing this with every other person you guys are encountering. Yuck,
Yes, that is definitely a major red flag.
Yeah, I mean, like, and especially the line there, like, I mean, the wrap it, like, I can't wrap it up because I can't even take a boner. Then
that's its own red flag.
Yeah, like that one in itself is a big, huge red flag. Right. That's a lot of line. That's trying to break a boundary that is set up front you, like trying to question your boundary. I hate people that question boundaries. Like, oh, why do you have? Why can I kiss you, or why can I touch you there, or why can I do that with you? Doesn't matter the why. I just told you don't. Like that, one big deal breaker for us.
That comes back to the red flags with boundaries. It's people that don't understand that it's a red flag to not have boundaries, and then that they're the ones that push the boundaries because they haven't had that broken before. At least in my experience.
I just think there's like an unspoken code between women and men, and this goes back to being kind of shepherded in or raised by, Rick and, Scott in the lifestyle, like being brought in and with an understanding of the importance of respect. When you're in a setting and you see another female, like from a woman's perspective, see another female aggressing on your husband or your man, and they don't give you the proper respect, like the eye contact and the general pleasantries, to me, I find that to be irritating and offensive. It's like, please just step to the side. Like, if you can't just give me the time of day in respect as a woman, please don't be, you're going to bring out the absolute worst in me,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100%. It grinds my gears. I'm like, okay, Jesus, let's go talk to somebody else.
And we do.
What about you, Scott?
I just as far as overlooked, I don't think there's like I don't know if I'm willing to overlook a red flag, especially if it's something really severe, and my wife would tell you, I'm quick to say, hey, nope, not mess with them, let's move on. My biggest pet peeve as we're talking about this is like you were talking about getting ignored. I can't stand when, like, especially like the single guys, when they just like completely bypass me and they're hitting on my wife. They give me no respect at all, no conversation, no nothing at all. You see me standing here, you just totally go by me and speak to her. I'll tell her right then and there, that's it. I don't care what he's saying to you. We're not doing this because I don't like the guy. And another red flag for us that has been a problem a lot recently is those single guys that will follow her around like a little puppy dog. We would go to a club, and we had this one guy. We were in Wilmington, one of our favorite clubs, and this guy, first of all, he followed her around, and then when we gave him the shake, he was sitting across the bar and just staring at her. I mean, literally just staring, not taking his eyes off of her, and it was making it really uncomfortable. And I said to her, I said, "Do you want me to go over there and talk to him?" She's like, "No, no, no, don't bother him." The dude was just making us really weirded out. And when I first saw him, I thought maybe he'd be someone that she might want to play with. But his behavior just totally like 86 that altogether. It's like it's not going to happen because the guy is a creeper and we can't stand creepers. There's
Yeah.
another guy we met over the weekend. I'm not going to say his name. I don't know if I should even bring this up.
I don't even know
now.
what you're talking about yet.
Think about last weekend. Who creeped you out last weekend? He started off, he's attractive.
Oh, yeah.
I should not bring him
No.
up. Right? Yeah, I shouldn't bring him up. Especially since we're gonna probably hang out with him or see him again soon. So I probably should not. Anyway,
Also, an overlooked flag.
Yeah, that is an overlooked flag.
Ah, there it is one.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if she's.
Got it.
I don't know if she'd want to play with him though because of how she felt about him this one particular experience. But he's an attractive guy. At first, I think he would have got the go ahead, but he just. My personal opinion with this guy, I'm not gonna say too much.
Mm-hmm.
My personal opinion with this guy is, I think he's new. He hasn't been doing this for a long time, and he doesn't know how to ask for what he wants. I think that, and he was at a point where he could have obtained the goal that I know he had, but he didn't know how to ask for it. So what seemed to be okay at first, which reached started to tip the creeper scale, pretty much was his inability to know how to ask for what he wanted. So, and I think that kind of creeped her out.
It would have made a lot more sense if he would have asked, what are your rules, or what is your dynamic? How do you go about initiating contact with you? Or like, however he would have said that, however he would have asked that. And I would have let him know very clearly, my husband is the boss. And, my husband was across the room talking to some other females. And I, based on our history, don't feel comfortable just green lighting something.
Still working on that.
But I wouldn't want to be the one just independently green lighting something. I would always want that to be like we're on the same page. We authorize that together,
Yeah, well,
and
it's for me. It's like right now, it's different than the past. If you tell me you're interested in someone, then I'll green light it. If you have that interest, and with him, it would have been the same thing. And
it would have gone down a lot different if he would have just asked.
If he would have asked,
by what method could I?
If he came to
connect with you guys, how do you do that?
Yeah. What is your dynamic? Do you guys play with single guys?
Mm-hmm.
If he would have came to me, if he would have came to you, I would have said, hey, if she's okay with it, I'm okay with it. As long as I'm there to watch to make sure she's okay, I'm fine with it. If that's what that, but I don't think he knew that. I think he was trying to find a way, and he kept hinting around. Like, I found out the dialogue of the conversation afterwards when we were driving away, we're in our car. This place was 2 hours away from us. When she was talking to me, she was telling me about some of the things that he said, because he kept finding her. He kept coming up to her, and that's kind of where she started getting a little weirded out by.
Silver Luna reminds me of what you were talking about when Scott interviewed you, and you were talking about how it's not worth ruining the night over it. So I just kept trying to let it roll off my back. Ha 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 ha, you're funny, like, what? Oh, thank you for being so nice, whatever. But, after a while, it's like, you're not understanding. We're having the same dialogue over and over and over, and it's not going anywhere for a reason. Like, I'm not green lighting you because, number one, I don't want to make that decision alone. I always want him to be involved in that, because I feel like, out of respect, is he's my husband and I'm his wife, that I feel like should always just be are you okay with that? Yeah, I'm okay with that. Okay. Maybe even something as simple as that, but not, you're just gonna, come at me the minute that I'm alone without him. And then, maybe some people operate that way. I'm sure everyone has different rules, but we're not like that,
Well, that's a red flag for us right there. That
Yeah.
a guy coming up to her alone, because I mean, this thing happened. That it has happened that I see a guy kind of creeping a little bit here and there, and as soon as I go to the bathroom, I come back, he's talking to her, and that we give each other at this point, we give each other this look of like, yeah, this is not happening for him, even how cute he is or how handsome he is. Before we have actually had let that happen, like, oh well, he was handsome at least, so, like, she gets to sleep with him, but now it's like, no, like, because it causes
It's a basic boundary.
it's a basic boundary that just
So
crosses
simple.
a line like that. If it's so easy for you to cross this line, why wouldn't it be easier for you to not understand other boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have had to have conversations with people before, like, hey, I didn't like the way you approach my wife, and unfortunately, it hasn't gone well the two times that I had said it, because I really don't want to ever discourage people, because I understand they knew it, especially if they're new, or that nobody has told them, hey, that's creepy or that's weird that you come to my wife afterwards. If I had to be the first person to tell them, I will. But I say it nicely, you know what I mean? I say it's more like hey, let me teach you, hey man, so you know you're not gonna get to sleep with her tonight because you came out of nowhere when I was going. I don't know, I wasn't. Yes, don't gaslight me now. Now you're making it worse. That you're digging a hole.
Yeah.
Don't think we don't notice these things. We notice that. I mean, part of being in the lifestyle is being very observant, because you know who you want to hit on, or who you want to go hang out with, or you're very observant of what's happening around you.
So, one common denominator that I'm hearing the most in a lot of these red flags is that there's a lot of single males. So, I guess kind of a general roundtable question. If you could give a single piece of advice to single males that are listening to this and it's their first time going to a lifestyle club, what would you tell them as like the general foundational rule number one?
Well, for me, probably rule number one is understand your place. Understand that you're not, you're pretty much there. You don't have you're not bringing anything to the table, like, and you have to understand that you're like an additive. Like, there's a core couple, and if you get involved with someone, most likely you're going to be the third. You're not the top of the food chain, and also understand how to approach people. Understand that you have to be respectful. You have to speak to both parties. You know, you're trying to show them that you're a decent guy, and hopefully at the end of the night you'll get an opportunity. But know when to step away, and know when to engage. Know the signs. Look for the signs. Don't overstay your welcome. But if there's an opportunity for you, you also don't want to leave too soon as well too. I mean, it's a tightrope for single guys.
So
That would be
It
yeah.
is.
It's definitely.
dance.
I feel for single guys because I mean, I personally I think they have a lot to offer, but
She thinks they have a lot to offer as well. What about you, babe?
What do I think about single guys?
What was your advice?
What would be your advice?
Mm,
Because they have the most red flags, or the most they get the most bad press.
I think that they should just understand that number one, you are welcome, and there is definitely a place for you, and it's not just functional. Your presence is welcomed, and you bring a lot to the table in terms of just spicing up any event, or like increasing the complexity of the dynamic. It adds like sexual tension. You're welcome. If you bring a lot to the table, thank you. But you need, like, there's a lot of different structures in relationships. We have a very traditional structure. You're gonna make me feel flattered if you come up to me, but you're gonna also make me feel like I have to be on edge, because is my husband comfortable with this? But if you just go to my husband first, you're gonna make me feel so much more comfortable, because if my husband shows me some type of authorization or comfort level, you're gonna put me at ease, and we're gonna go a lot farther. And we have not together explored male, female, although it's something that
I have been trying really hard.
it's something that's on the table. And I just, I've been telling him I want to explore that when it develops organically. And although historically it has, no, I'm not scared.
You're afraid that I'm
scared of your reaction.
Exactly. I know that. I keep telling you.
Hey, it's
You know
not
how
too
many
bad.
times-
It's not too bad. It's like life porn. It's very life pornish.
I keep telling her over and over again. I've told her, I'm like, I'm okay with it. I'm trying to get you to do it. Why am I gonna get mad at you?
Yeah, and I'm cool with it too, for sure, as long as it lines up organically. I'm not just gonna just for the heck of it, I mean, to me that's just kind of miserable. Like, I can play off of the fantasies in my head and my past experience all day long. I'd rather wait for something to line up organically, and then it's going to be something that I can exponentiate on in the future in my head. You know what I'm saying?
Organically, like
Oh,
you guys go to a club and then like it just happens. That you mean organically, like you
Yes.
both died, you both like, you know what, this guy's chill. Let's go to the bedroom really quick.
Yeah, when it just lines up and you've got that vibe.
See,
Let's go
I'm
3
waiting
hours
for
into it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for her to get that vibe. It just, I don't know. I just think you keep getting scared. I don't know.
No, I'm not scared. It just hasn't lined up, and I'd rather it be something good where I'm gonna really get the most bang for my buck and be able to fantasize about it down the road when it's a good experience. I'll be
You
able
saw
to
her first
fantasize
three.
about it many times in the future.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You saw her first male, female, male. They
It was pretty hot.
3 guys.
It's MMMF.
MMMF.
MMM.
I have
Yeah.
three
There's
guys.
me and 2 other guys.
Yeah,
That
she
was
would love that. She
that
would
was crazy.
love that. That would be her top of the line there. That
I don't know. I think he's overshooting.
no,
But
I'm not.
talk about your experience.
Oh, it was amazing. It was probably like one of the top ranking sexiest experiences I've ever had. Fulfilled some fantasies, which is crazy because we just fulfilled a fantasy like a month or so ago where he had a new bull come by and body swap is what he called it. So like he walked off and then the new bull that I hadn't seen at our house ever before walked in through the kitchen and came.
I went to the garage really quick, and then she thought I was getting something, and he ended up being the other guy.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Look at your face.
So
I might have imagined something like that.
we've been living in a porno these past 2 months.
Yeah. It's true.
Oh,
That's pretty
man.
hot.
But what about you? What the red flags for a single guy, or your advice for single guys?
I actually love the advice that Kelly gave because it's so true. Like if you just go talk, if they just come talk to you, I will immediately feel so much more comfortable. I mean, even whenever it comes down to play scenarios, whenever we meet with a new person, And like he's even asked me whenever we're hooking up and he'll be in the room with us, and it's like as long as I have his approval and I know that he's happy with it, I can easily enjoy myself. But if I know that he's sitting there watching and wondering when I'm going to come over and say hi and introduce somebody, then it's not going to be as enjoyable, and I'm not going to be like super aroused and like, hey, let's go to the playroom real quick. But that's coming from somebody that does seek out single bulls. So like I think that that's a really important piece of advice, because like if they don't do that, then you can easily go home spending an outrageous amount on entry and not getting to do anything or play with anybody, and everybody thinks you're a creep because you just followed them around instead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and I think for me, the number one advice I can give single guys is that is we're all humans. It's just a club. It's just like you went to a bar and hang out with anybody. Just because you're there in a sexual tension place doesn't mean that the rules change. That you don't have to wow me. That you don't have to show me who you are. Like if I like even if I meet a guy just in a bar, like they're still being the best person. They're still joking around. They're still showing me who they are the way I like them, right? And I do the same thing towards a person in a bar. So, I mean, my advice to single people or single guys is stop putting so much pressure into the sex aspect of it, and put a little more pressure into the human aspect of it. Like you were just interacting with two humans.
Yeah.
Learn from them. Learn about them.
You know, that actually leads me to a follow-up question. How do you differentiate an honest mistake from a red flag? Again, that's general. I'll send it back over to Kelly and Scott first.
Well, I honest mistake from a red flag. Well, if you made a mistake, you acknowledge the mistake, you know, and you may apologize.
When it's pointed out, they're like quick to apologize.
Yeah, yeah. But you are willing to. Whereas, if you don't have a positive response to it, especially when it's pointed out, then that's a red flag that you need to take serious. That would be my answer to that question.
That's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, man?
How would you differentiate?
Just people's, you can tell by their body language, you know? You can just tell, like, if you speak up and you verbalize that something isn't consistent, isn't lining up with how you guys operate. Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to overstep my bounds. If somebody responds like in a heartfelt way, you know that they really truly did make an oversight and it was a miscommunication, or you know they didn't realize, or they're new and they don't know what the rules are. You know, and then you can tell when somebody just doesn't really care too much because they're just kind of glossy, and you can tell that it's their general practice. You know what I mean? They're just kind of glossy and
I agree.
a schmoozer, you know?
I agree with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Teflon, their thing. Yeah,
that
makes sense.
Like the intent. So like the intent behind how they're processing their mistakes and whether or not they're willing to acknowledge it. Yeah.
That's a very good answer too.
Whether it's a trend.
Hope you don't come to me.
Oh, your turn.
I do the red flag from a mistake. Yeah, I really think that's the answer right there. Like I think for most humans, it's just the way that you take my feedback. Because first, it's gonna be communication, right? Like I want to understand where you come from. Maybe you're wrong. I would assume always that somebody's just doesn't know before I assume that they are coming with bad intent, unless it's a very obvious red flag, like I don't like playing around with everybody or just like being disrespectful right from the get go. But if it's a mistake and I just like for instance, like I said, like hey, I don't like that you approached my wife by herself. Like that's not something that we do. I feel like that's that. And like, well, no, I didn't do that. Like that's not what I meant to do. And like, hey, man, obviously you did. If you didn't talk, sorry, no, obviously you did. But like, if you're so scared right now, it's because you knew there was bad intent behind it. So you obviously knew you had a bad intent about it. You just didn't know. Just communicate with me next time. Yeah. Like that's all you have to do is talk, or that simple question that you just brought up, Kelly. The question of what is your boundaries? What is your relationship? What is your dynamic? It's
Yeah.
such a simple question that should be number one, especially on those settings. Like
Yeah.
it's all about dynamics because everybody's relationship is different. Even as we call ourselves with labels as a Vixen Stag, we might have a completely different definition than you all do. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm more, maybe she's more hot wife than Stag or Vixen, and actually that maybe no, that's really what it is. So like, but that doesn't mean that you all will be the same amount. Like that you wouldn't be not because she's slutty means the next person is gonna be slutty too. Like know your audience, know your people, and that's what I was saying. Like know the humans that you're speaking with. That there's
Yeah.
all so different.
That's true. Definitely have some perspective. So what do you do
Yeah.
whenever like it's a situation that you deem as a very serious red flag that you need to handle? Like it's somebody that's being like over the top, they won't leave you alone, or they won't leave Kelly alone and you've told them like 20 times I'm not interested. How do you say stop it? This is too much.
Oh, I can take that one. She says, honey, this is a problem, and I go handle it. I go talk to him and let him know, hey, you made her nervous, or you're overstepping your boundaries. You need to back off. It's not gonna happen for you. You know,
Good.
So you're
that's
really direct and you tell them exactly like what they're doing wrong so that they fix it.
No.
yeah, pretty much. So yeah, that's pretty much like I've had. Well, usually Kelly though is like Kelly usually doesn't want me to do anything though. Like I've come to you before and be like, do you want me to go talk?
Yeah, I get nervous about confrontation. Like when we're at a social like event, I just, I try to. I'll maybe say something to him on the side, like, man, this person won't stop bothering me. Like they're coming on way too strong, whatever. And he might want, you want me to say something? No, it's okay. Like I guess I just need to maybe grow a set a little more. I'm just a little bit of I wouldn't say I'm passive in general, but when it comes to confrontation, I try to steer away from it unless I feel like directly threatened. Then I can bring it, but I try not to get there because I can have like a bad element in me, and it's not common that it would come out, maybe like 2% of the time, but when it comes out, it can come out. So I try to keep everything in check and balance and just kind of roll with the situation and steers away from it the best I can.
Yeah.
I had a situation though one time though when we were out at a pool party, and that was back when I was really, really like protective of her, and this guy was talking to her, and he had his hands like on her hips like this, and I came up to him and had some words with him and kind of like in not such a very nice way, told him that this is my wife and you don't put your hands on my wife without asking me. Um, and that was kind of like very abrupt. And that might be one of the reasons why you kind of like don't want me to go handle situations because of how that, you know what I'm talking about, right? The guy with, the black guy at the pool over, you remember we were
I'm having a senior moment.
having a senior moment. Okay. Okay. Well, I can't remember the name of the place that we were at. We used to go to the parties all the time. They had the pools, a big pool. We used to play volleyball.
Camelot?
Not Camelot. It's an hour away from where we live. An hour away from where we live now. It's oh gosh, I can't remember the place. I can't remember the name of it. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, we get the whole point of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm sure I lived that experience with you, but I just can't. I can't remember it.
It was in the beginning when we first started going. It was an outdoor party. I think I didn't want to go to that party. We were in the car, and I didn't want to go inside. We went inside. That's where they had the hot tub here. I'm going to set the scene for her so she can remember.
Joy's Play Place?
Joy's Play Place. That's the name of the place.
Oh, when we were in the hot tub that one time?
The hot tub was the second time.
Oh.
I forgot about that one. I was talking about the black.
See what I'm saying? Do you see what I
was pretty bad.
Sometimes it's better to say less.
I was bad. I was pretty bad. I've loosened up a lot. Yeah, the hot tub.
And we were the opposite because I've reeled it in a lot.
I forgot. I forgot about the hot tub creeper. Yeah, I had to. he was getting a little touchy feeling. I had to go talk to him in the hot tub with her as well. Oh my gosh, forgot about that. It's the same place too, actually. Yeah, but we had a situation. So we have 2 times where I had to talk to guys who were going a little too far with her.
Yeah, hot tubs are a red zone for red flag infringement. Because a lot can happen under the water with the hands and the legs and the
That's true.
rubbing.
Yep.
That's true. That's
You
true.
can do a lot covertly.
Yep.
Yeah, there are a lot of times with hot tubs that she told me afterwards what was going on. I didn't even know what was going on. But like I said, I'm a lot more chill now. I'm a lot more relaxed now. I'm not that person that's going to abruptly go up to someone and confront them because of what they're doing. I'm more relaxed now. But in the beginning, when we first started doing it, I was like on pins and needles because whenever we went anywhere, she always just had people like gravitating towards her, and it was like I don't know, maybe it's because I've never experienced it to that level before. Where we go someplace and there'd be especially when we go places where there's single guys, there's always flock around, especially when I walk away. You know, they would always like try to, like, because the guy I'm talking about, he was another one that came up to her that night when I walked away. I went to use the bathroom, came back, there he is talking to her, and he didn't talk to her when I was there and we're standing there. Um, but yeah, I went all the way around, just bringing me back with all these memories. I'm sorry, guys.
It's
Talking about our
so,
first year in the lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
I don't know. I cut you off. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this flashback into our first year in the lifestyle. There's so much happened in that first year.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was a volatile time.
Oh, I know that's a large part of what spurred this podcast because it is a very painful process getting started in the lifestyle. Like
That's no joke.
Yeah.
Well, and that also that's the point. Like everybody has their own red flags, right? Like everybody has their own like your red flags might not be the same red flags for me as well, and that's okay. It's just a matter of learning over time what like how to call them out. Really, I think that's the main thing. Is like with your partner, it's like, hey, that's something that we had to watch. That's something we actually have a new method now. We call it or just started putting it.
Oh yeah, I created a new method. I just thought of this idea like at the last hotel party we went to, but it's like a pretty standard stoplight method. So whenever I'm feeling like unsure about a person, it's like a yellow light. So we'll be sitting there talking to each other, and if we're like, I don't know, the vibes are a little off, but they seem like they could be okay, they're yellow light. But it was like obviously somebody that we're really vibing with, green light, probably don't even need to talk about it. We both know it's a green light. But then there are those people that you meet, you know they have bad intentions, you know they're trying to do something sneaky, you know you don't want them around, and you know you don't want your partner to have them around, but you don't want to kill the vibe either. So while you're talking, and be like, it's red light. Like nobody will even know or think about it. It's just a red light, yellow light, green light system. Pretty basic, but it tells everything to your partner, so you can tell them to quit talking to that person.
And you feel comfortable saying that out loud?
Oh yeah, we do it a lot though. We just kind of talk about random shit all the time.
Yeah, but with the green light, it helps a lot with our the level of comfort, because at that point I know I can flirt with this person, because we also had that problem too. I don't flirt with a lot of women because I don't feel comfortable doing it. I just don't feel comfortable doing it, because we also have all bad experiences on my side as well, where I'm overstepping my boundaries, or her boundaries, or boundaries, overstepping it without even knowing I was overstepping our boundaries. Just like any other couple goes through that. But like with that green light, like it lets me know, it gives me that permission to like, oh, I can flirt with this girl now. I have this freedom now of like, okay, we all on the same page. We all know that we like them. We all know we're gonna sleep with them. We are in the same, which we're aligned that this is what we mean. But that's also, we know what we mean by green light, yellow light, and red light. You know what I mean? So it's defined at that point. Like, oh, okay, good. Thank God I can flirt. I can be okay. She doesn't have anything against her, or or not. She hasn't done anything to offend her.
I think I'm reflecting as you guys are talking too, just like on my own inadequacies with communication, and I'm kind of a people pleaser, and I don't want to, I guess, avoid an experience based on if there's not an initial attraction or the aesthetics aren't initially there. I am like widely attracted to the gamut, so I will a lot of times just not listen to myself, and I'll think, oh, just because this person is super nice and they're a super nice couple and we're vibing with them just like on a friend level, even though I know there's no initial fire for me, I sometimes will just ignore myself and just lead myself into that experience, because I think, well, maybe it's going to get better, or as time progresses, maybe it's going to get better, or maybe, maybe some fire will develop as the experience unfolds. And then many times I realize later on, no, it didn't. Like I need to just like listen to myself, and I think a lot of times historically, a lot of times I have just tried to go along with things. And he asks me really directly, are you into this? Are you down with this? Yeah, I am. And then, I'm just kind of like wishy-washy or like indifferent, like, whatever. Like, I don't know. I guess, I mean, that's like my own personal red flag that I've caught myself in that situation quite a few times. Like, I don't advocate for myself enough. Like, I guess I'm just, I know that sounds really bad that I'm not more selective, but sometimes I'm just like universally open to the point where it's just like I'm not selective enough, and I'm like, yeah, that was just kind of mediocre. It's like,
We
why are
went through
you
that.
even why
Yeah,
are you even putting
don't
yourself out there for these mediocre experiences? Like,
No. We
I feel
actually,
you.
yeah,
Don't worry, it's okay. We all do it, I think.
yeah, we went through that too. And I believe I was like, it took us a while to actually get into that to say no, because people were super nice to us, and that was that feelings feels really good. But then but at the end, like, the next time when we were meeting, it's like, yeah, but that wasn't what we wanted. We kind of felt somebody else's experience. We felt somebody else's, what is that called,
Their fantasy.
their fantasy. We were
Well,
part of their fantasy, which I don't mind being part of somebody else's fantasy, but we weren't creating our fantasies.
well, but also in part, we were a lot of these experiences because I do still find myself to be generally like pretty slutty in scenarios that, like, even if I don't think that I necessarily hit it off in that situation, like, okay, let's still play whatever. But usually by that point, I've gotten better now in like recent months, I would say, in choosing and being more selective with the people that we even get to that phase of the evening with. Because in the past, it was more like, I don't want people in my immediate vicinity to know that we're in a lifestyle, meaning I don't want to hook up with anybody that I might have gone to high school with. So now I need to set my filters to like 60 miles away minimum. And so now these people are driving 2 hours to come hook up with us. So why would I turn them down now? Like, that just seems mean. So then we had to learn how to grow out of that. And then that's when I was like, okay, now I guess I got to be more selective because I can't just keep hooking up with the people that I don't want to hook up with either. It's not sustainable.
another thing, I used to most of my life I've been a party girl, and even up until recently, like 3 years ago, I became aware then that it just wasn't worth it anymore, because I kept putting him in these situations where he felt like he had to
Protect you.
protect me and be like, not, I don't want to say babysitter, but always had to keep, like, he couldn't ever just completely relax himself, because he always had to kind of keep one eye open, like, what is she doing, is she safe? Because I would, it was just a little bit wide open, a little bit like extreme. And like, I think that now that I have become more aware of how that affects him, and then I stopped partying so hard like I used to, and then I think that now I don't put us in the situation where I'm putting us in the red flag situations. Like, I think I used to lead us right into them, like right into the
I
Yeah.
feel it's hard.
You're telling me. Yeah, you're telling me. I started drinking.
Kinda
I
like-
started drinking 3 years ago too. At the same time, so I noticed all that. Like, since I don't drink, I notice a lot of other little things, right? But then I started noticing, like, yeah, there was a point that like the party will be too much, and then she wouldn't notice people being creepy, or like notice like the arm and the thing, and it was like, okay, that person is not asking for consent. You just met them, and like it kind of like consent went out the window a second ago with you because you're also feeling it. Because when you're drunk, I mean, I remember being drunk and feeling that too, right? Like, I mean, I understand their mood and the thing, but that's the things that you do the next day. You wake up and you're like, why did I let that happen, or why did I let that continue, or how come I let that person be creepy towards me when my husband was right next to me, and we had this conversation that I wasn't supposed to let that happen, but then it still happened. But I get why it happens, because you're in that alcohol party that kind of like takes those concerns away from the thing, and you completely forgot there was steps to this thing.
I get super amped up when I drink, like amped up. And yeah, like I already think when I'm sober that the party's going on right here. And when I
same
like delusional, you know? But then when I drink, I really think delusionally, like to a whole nother level, like I am the party, you know? Like
I think this is a really good discussion to have too, because you're right. That is a red flag right there. Overconsumption, like, and getting too crazy. Sorry, Scott, go ahead.
We had those moments in the beginning.
I don't miss it one bit. Waking up in the morning, like this is what it feels like. I don't know what it looked like, but I imagine it looked pretty ugly. But I'd be like waking up and I'd be like one eye open, looking over at him, like trying to feel out the situation. Like, am I in trouble?
Yo, I think you're looking
trying to feel out, but not like go there, you know, but feel out like in a really like gentle way. Like, am I in trouble? Are we cool? Did I go too far? I don't miss that, you know. I don't miss that at all. At least now I know if I went too far, or if I, you know.
And I mean, for me, it wasn't fun. For me, at least, it wasn't fun the next day either. For me, because I also don't want to feel bad about like the party. You know, I also don't want to feel that way either. I didn't want to feel angry. I didn't want to feel those feelings either. Like, and sometimes it was my own reflex too. Sometimes I saw things that weren't there. I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes it was the times that I is because I'm in my head I'm jealous, or I feel a certain way about somebody, that I'm like, oh, it went a little too far. That I shouldn't have argued with you about that. And that is something that I carry with me too a lot. Every time that we had those arguments, and at the end I realized that it was me arguing with myself. Oh my God, those hit hard for me. Those are the moments that I'm like, I didn't let you enjoy yourself. I killed my own vibe for my own hubris. How can I stop this?
Oh yeah. Does happen. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk with us tonight. Any last thoughts on any other major red flags that you want the newbies in the lifestyle to be aware of or to think about?
I think I've covered everything. What about you, babe?
I would just say, you know, don't be shy to communicate, even if you're, you know, maybe like somebody kind of like me, where like in a social setting you're not really comfortable. I get social anxiety, and it's the most silly thing ever, you know, because I'm a 48-year-old woman. Why do I even care? But you know, that's just how I'm wired. I get inhibited like in a social setting to like speak my mind. But I guess, you know, even if you're like that, try to find a way to just, you know, find a channel that you can communicate with your partner so that you guys can be on the same page, because it's super important. You don't want to have those feelings the next day, like, you know, I went too far or you went too far, and maybe you didn't even know it, and it's not your fault because they didn't even let you know, you know, or, you know, whatever the situation is. You know, I know, like, we always talk about too, like, oh, communication is so important, and then look at us, here we are, we're trying to talk about something and we can't even communicate, like
That's her.
Were you
That's her
guys
imitating me.
on camera? What was that?
That's her imitating me. Just so you know, that's my voice. She's
I was
doing my
gonna
voice.
say, do you guys have a camera in our bedroom? Are you guys watching us argue too?
But it's painful, and you just got to go through that. You got to, you got to go through the fire, and you come out on the other side, and you can have a whole lot of lovely experiences. But you got to go through the fire of communicating. It's not fun sometimes,
Yeah, that's true. It's like the small things too. If you miss the small things, thinking that like it's okay, I think that they already know that. You shouldn't be doing that. Don't talk to somebody like that. It's gonna be offensive. You think that your partner knows it, and if you just don't communicate it, then that's what's gonna start the biggest fight. I mean, at least in our experience, I feel like those have been the biggest problems.
Yeah. We focus too much on the big picture, not enough on the little details that I didn't know were gonna be affecting us, and that's what we started learning to go on the smaller kind of deal, because the bigger picture, I mean, we were fine with sleeping with other people and seeing each other sleep with other people. It's just the mannerisms or what I think is my moves, or what, I mean, there's dance moves that I think, I mean, I know how to dance one way and I dance with everybody the same way, right? But there's some dance move that she feels is hers. That's her dance move. She fell in love with her. I romanced her with that. You know what I mean? But I had no idea that was actually not something I was supposed to do with somebody else. But it's that little detail, right? Because like I said, and that's a little detail, but it's nothing to do with the big picture.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And actually, that reminds me of a red flag that I forgot to mention earlier, which is whenever somebody's paying more attention to somebody else's partner, like to your partner, you're not paying as much attention to their own. I've always hated that. Whenever they're like, sorry, I saw the notification just ADHD'd me. It said something about the connection, and I looked at Jesus and I was like, what? But like whenever you're like at a bar or at a club or something, and they're like coming up and dancing on you repeatedly, and their partner's just standing back at the table, just like
bored.
Yeah, watching. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
just there's been times that we're talking to somebody, and the partner. Well, there's been plenty of times of that. Like they start focusing on her a lot, but they don't notice that me and their couple are not clicking. So like I noticed that, she noticed that, she's trying to get out of the conversation, but they're so infatuated with this trying to sleep with her that they completely forget their partner is right there next to them, not having a good time at all.
Yeah.
And that's a big red flag for us. I'm like, hey, if you're not paying that much attention to your partner, then what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess another thing I would just offer too is to make sure no matter what you do with somebody else, make sure you bring it home just as strong. Like at the end of the night, you need to come back together and you need to make it good. You need to show your partner that same level of enthusiasm.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that kind of just like brings it all back home and into balance. And then my head doesn't get fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. 100%. That's a great way to wrap it up. So I want to give you guys the table. You have Swingapedia podcast, so I want to give you a second to kind of talk about what you have going on and take your time.
Well, actually, right now, our new episode is featuring you guys.
Yay!
Yeah, and I am very proud of that episode. I think that's one of the better ones that we've done. So, since you guys are looking at their podcast, check out our podcast, and you can see them again on our podcast. And we're trying to release a podcast like once a week is what my goal is. We've got podcasts with us talking individually about subjects. We have podcasts with interviews and stuff like that. And it's all about helping people that are new to the lifestyle. That's what the focus is. And we're going to continue to do that. And hopefully people will check us out and continue to check you guys out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How about you? You want to spell your podcast name real quick for the listeners?
Swingapedia. She's going to put me on the spot. So it's swing.
Swingapedia.
Noise. Okay, sweet.
Awesome.
Well, I'm also going to tag in the description. So I'll link
Thank
to
you.
your podcast and to the episode with us. And your episode will be the next one on the Lifestyle 101 page as well. So I'll send you the link to that. That'll be airing on Friday, so February 13th.
And don't worry, we'll cut some of these things out.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Just a squirrel moment.
Oh, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again. I hope you have a wonderful night. Do you have any closing thoughts for red flags before we go?
No, just watch for them, change them, and keep watching for them.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channels, both at Silver Luna's Vault and Swingapedia. We are both on YouTube and Spotify. Talk to you next week.